When kids are accused of breaking the law, their cases are handled in juvenile court. Juvenile courts are similar to criminal courts for adults, but is specifically for kids under the age of 18. If a young person is accused of breaking the law, juvenile court is where the case is handled. Going to a juvenile court can be scary. It's a place many people aren't familiar with, and it has its own set of rules. But it's designed to protect you and your rights. If you're asked to appear in juvenile court, it's important to understand how the court works. So we created this video to explain what to expect. I'll describe who works in the courtroom and the best way to act when you're there. Courtrooms can be big or small. They can be really fancy with high ceilings or very simple rooms with just a few tables. But what happens in the courtroom, no matter what it looks like, is similar everywhere. And as you'll learn in this video and the next one, what you need to do in court is the same as well. Courtrooms usually have several people working in them. They all have different jobs to do. The judge is the person in charge of the courtroom. He or she makes sure everyone in court follows the rules. The judge decides if a law was broken and determines what happens next. Sometimes the judge is called a magistrate. The clerk is the judge's assistant and helps manage papers and other activities for the judge. The bailiff is the person who maintains order. The bailiff will also announce the beginning and end of a court session. The prosecuting attorney, or prosecutor, is the attorney hired by the government to try to prove that a charge is true. The defense attorney is the lawyer who helps an accused person defend him or herself in court. Also, there might be other people in the court, including other attorneys and witnesses. I'll tell you about them in a few minutes. When you're in court, it's important to be quiet and respectful towards the judge, the attorneys, and anyone else in the room. We'll talk about the best way to act in our next video. If you've been accused of breaking the law and are told to appear in juvenile court, several things will happen. Most of the time, you'll receive a summons to appear in juvenile court. A summons is an official letter telling you to come to court. A summons will describe what you're accused of doing, which is called a charge, and tells you the date and time you need to appear in court. A summons usually requires you to attend a hearing. There are 3 types of hearings: an arraignment, a trial, and a dispositional hearing. Here's what each of those mean. The arraignment is your first appearance in juvenile court. At an arraignment, the charge against you is announced. It's good to have an attorney with you at an arraignment, but if you don't have one, or if your family can't afford to pay for one, that's okay. You can ask the court to provide you with an attorney. While many people choose to work with a court-appointed attorney, others prefer to have an attorney they already know. Either way, if you have an attorney at the arraignment, make sure he or she is aware of any disability you have, like autism. If you don't have an attorney yet, it's important that you tell any court official that you're working with that you have a disability. If possible, try to tell the judge as well. At an arraignment, you'll be asked to admit to or deny the charge made against you. If you don't have an attorney yet, you may want to deny the charge until you have a chance to talk to an attorney. Remember, it's the prosecutor's job to prove that you did what you're accused of. You don't have to admit to anything at the arraignment. You may, though, have to answer some basic questions, such as, what is your name and address? And do you understand the charge against you? If you admit to the charge made against you, the judge may tell you immediately what the consequences are for doing what you were accused of. Or the judge may schedule a different time to discuss the consequences. If you deny the charges, the judge usually decides on a date for a trial. The second type of hearing is a trial. During the trial, the prosecutor presents evidence to try to show that you did what you're charged with. Your attorney also has the chance to give your side of the story. The trial may be in the same room where you went for your arraignment, or it may be in a different room or building. You're likely to see people with the same jobs in this courtroom as you did at your arraignment. It could even be the same people. There may be some additional people in the courtroom as well, such as witnesses. Witnesses are people who may know something about what happened. The prosecutor may ask the witness to talk about what they saw or know. Your attorney may also ask witnesses questions too. After listening to the prosecutor and your attorney explain each side, the judge will decide if you broke the law. If the judge decides that the prosecutor didn't prove that you broke the law, then your case is over. Your attorney or the judge will tell you if you need to do anything else. But if the judge decides that the prosecutor did prove that you did purposefully or intentionally break the law, the judge will then give you another date to return to court and learn what the consequences are. This is called a disposition. Sometimes the judge will explain the disposition at the end of the trial, but most of the time you'll have to come back to court. The third part of the court process is called the dispositional hearing. And yep, people with the same jobs as those you've seen in other courtrooms may be at this hearing. There may be more witnesses, such as doctors or counselors or a religious person who may talk about their thoughts about you or what happened. Then the judge tells you your sentence, which is the consequence for breaking the law, and you're told what the next steps are. If you don't understand something in juvenile court, be sure to quietly tell your attorney. You always have the right to understand what's happening. The judge may ask you to talk to someone separately to make sure you understand the court process. In the next video, we'll talk more about this and explain the right ways to behave in a courtroom. They're great tips that can make a big difference.